What's up? Welcome to day 4 of 31 Days, 31 Proverbs, the series where we will be looking at one chapter in Proverbs every single day for this month of July. It's July 4th. Happy Independence Day for my Americans. And because it's July 4th, we'll be in Proverbs 4, respectively. It's Proverbs 4 takes it close to the chest, close to the heart. As we've been going over these first couple chapters of Proverbs, they've been an appeal to seek wisdom. And we see that appeal in verse 7, where it says, "The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. And whatever you get insight." Right? With the fear of the Lord as the backdrop to all wisdom, as we've been, reading into the first few Proverbs, this verse is essential to beginning before we even begin. It's the want factor. This verse just told us if you want wisdom, get wisdom, which sounds a little redundant, but it's still an obvious thing that's worth pointing out. Wisdom comes not to the most fortunate or the most intelligent, but to those determined to find it most. The first couple of verses back this appeal, verses 1 to 3, "Hear, O sons, a father's instructions, and be attentive, that you may gain insight, for I give you good precepts. Do not forsake my teaching. When I was a son with my father, tender, the only one in the sight of my mother." All right, this is an appeal from a loving father to a son. We also will see this again later in verse 10. "Hear, my son, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many." We see it again in verse 20 to 21. "My son, be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape your sight. Keep them within your heart." This appeal has an opening encouragement. We see other appeals. Verse 5, 6, "Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget, do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her. She will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you." It's telling us not to forget wisdom. Verse 4, "He taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast to my words. Keep my commandments and live." The encouragement here is not just to let wisdom sit in our heads, but sink deep into our hearts. Verse 8 and 9, "Prize her highly. She will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a graceful garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown." This calls us to hold wisdom as something precious, because wisdom lifts up when it's cherished. Verse 11 to 13, "I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of righteousness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of my instructions. Do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life." All these appeals have been echoed in all the chapters that we've covered so far, and it's still singing the same song to emphasize how important it is for us to seek after wisdom. Verses 14 and 17 describe to us that when we take that path, whether the path of wisdom or foolishness, it's always going to lead us somewhere. The decision and actions you make based on those decisions, they change something. They'll either change your circumstances or even change you. Verse 14 to 15, "Do not enter the path of the wicked. Do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on." Life is illustrated as a path here because every action you take takes you somewhere. Every life decision you take could make it easier for you to do it again or not. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap an outcome. Actions matter. 16 and 17, "For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence." It says they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. What does that mean? As you continue to reject the path of wisdom and walk in the ways of foolishness, eventually it becomes so natural to be cruel and selfish that you can't rest until you're doing it. That's where those type of actions lead, to a heart that can't live without it. And so as we discuss where the paths begin and where they end, we must understand the heart. That's the heart of the message, is the message of the heart today. The emphasis of this video will be on verse 23, when it says, "Keep your heart with vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." I think some translation says, "Guard your heart." And what is it referring to when it says the heart? Does it mean the organ pumping gallons of blood through your body day in, day out? Does it mean the inner love you give out when you say, I love you? What is the heart? The heart is the seat of your deepest trust, commitments, and loves from which everything flows. Just to give a little definition, the heart is a seat of your deepest trust, commitments, and loves from which everything flows. What the heart most loves and trusts, the mind finds reasonable, the emotions find desirable, and the will finds doable. It's literally the heartbeat behind every decision you make. But I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question that I want you to think about for a little second. Do your actions shape your heart, or does your heart shape your actions? Do your actions shape your heart, or does your heart shape your actions? Do I do things because I love to do them, or do the things I do come first and then the love comes second? I think the wisdom is in seeing that both are true. Your actions do shape your heart, and in the same way, your heart shapes your actions. Let's first talk about how our actions shape our hearts. We tend to think feelings determine what we do, and because of that, our feelings drive us to do things that are often inconsistent. For example, we say things like, I have feelings for this person. And so in response, I will then love them as much as my feelings dictate. But when those feelings fade away, so does my love, which puts us in a trap because now I must either stop loving them or continue loving them, but it feels fake to act loving even when I don't feel that way. However, Proverbs tells us that actions shape our feelings. The actions you take can make your heart more or less loving. The verses we just read in 14 to 17 describe the kind of heart that is formed when you walk down wicked paths. And the following verses, verse 18 and 19, describe the kind of heart that's formed when you walk down the paths of righteousness and wisdom. It says, but the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. This is a summarization of the two ways your actions can shape your heart. One path brightens gradually, and the other darkens. To perform the actions of love, especially in times when it doesn't feel genuine, it's not fake. That doesn't mean it's fake. It means that your heart is already changing and you're willing to be obedient to God despite your feelings. So if you don't feel love for someone, don't let that stop you. Do the actions of love, and often the feelings follow. Matthew 5:44 says, but I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And when Jesus tells us to love our opponents, he doesn't mean to work up warm feelings that aren't actually there. He's telling us to seek our opponent's good even when we find it difficult to. So start the actions of love, take the path, and you will see your heart changing. For me, a personal example is doing the actions of extrovertedness. I'm not a natural extrovert, but I do feel called to put myself out there more and connect with people, and that takes a little work that I'm not used to. That's not my heart. But the more I just do the actions and I practice, and it felt fake, but it's practice. Practice can feel fake sometimes when it's not. And over time, I just grew my heart for people, wanting to talk to people, wanting to know people, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And my heart just started to change. Those growing in grace take the path shining ever brighter. In 2 Peter 3:18 it says, but grow in grace and the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. To him be the glory both now and to the day of eternity. Amen. They see more and more things about God and themselves that they previously denied. Why? Because the gospel assures us of God's love. We are finally capable of admitting the worst of ourselves. In his love, based on Christ's work, not ours, it's finally safe to do so. It's okay to understand our weaknesses and grow in that. It says to grow in grace. So we see that actions can and do shape the heart. Those who follow the paths of wickedness and the actions that accompany that literally become desensitized to cruelty, selfishness, and wrongdoing. while those who follow paths of righteousness form hearts that grow in love, even in and especially in hard times. As we continue to look further in Proverbs 4, we also see that the heart shapes the actions as well. Let's go back to our emphasis verse of the day, verse 23. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. It says that things flow from your heart. The things you say, the things you do, and the things you believe come from somewhere. And this verse tells us that it comes from the heart. Wisdom's presence in the heart is worth guarding because out of the heart flow all thoughts, all words, and choices of a person's life. To guard our heart is to be aware of what we let in, and this proverb offers 4 key considerations for guarding the heart. Verse 24, put away from you crooked speech and put devious talk far from you. What are you saying? It's talking about the things that come out of your mouth. Crooked speech includes not only dishonest speech, things that aren't true, but any good and honest communication without proper context, content, or purpose. Guarding the heart in wisdom includes guarding against any speech that contains things opposite to what the Lord loves. For example, gossip. Your words can display what's in your heart. Matthew 15:18 says, but what comes out of a mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person. Ephesians 4:29 says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear it. So ask yourself, what does my day-to-day speech look like? Do I talk to people or about people? And if I do talk about people, is it uplifting? Do I not only say the right things, but also say them in the right way? Do I tell the truth when I speak? Do I beat around the bush? Do I create narratives? What are you saying? Verse 25, let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Where are you looking? When a person turns his eyes away from the path, he's apt to stumble. So ask yourself, what things do I watch? In any given setting, where does my attention go? What things distract me from staying on the righteous path? What helps me focus? Where are you looking? Verse 26, ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. How do you plan your path? A vital part in keeping the heart formed in wisdom is the need to recognize and stay on the path, and that will shape it further in the way of righteousness. So ask yourself, how intentional am I with the opportunities that God has given me? Do I think about both the short-term and long-term growth? If so, what does it look like and what will it take? How do I make big decisions? This is a call to think about how to prepare your heart for things to come. How do you plan your path? And our last verse today, 27, do not swerve to the right or left. Turn your foot away from evil. Where do you stray? As sinners, it's inevitable that we stumble, so it's important that we are also aware of why we stray away from the path. If my goal is to be on a straight path from point A to point B, but I end up on point C, I gotta start asking some questions. Was it the GPS? Did I put in the wrong destination? Did I make a wrong turn? Are the passengers in my car navigating well? Did I take the most efficient route? Look around and see where it all went wrong. I heard this pastor say one time that you might have to either change your playground or change your playmates. Look around. Matthew 5:29 says, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away, for it's better to lose one of your members than your whole body be thrown into hell. What measures are you taking to address the times that you stumble? Why do you stray? So to summarize, to guard your hearts, we should, 1, be aware of what we say. Number 2, be aware of what we see. Number 3, be aware of where we're going. And number 4, be aware of how we stumble. And as we wrap up today's video, I understand it feels like a lot. There are several actions that we need to be aware of. There are things that we do that shape our hearts, and then there's our heart itself that's shaping what we do. It's a lot to bear, and if you're like me, you know that it's impossible to get it right. It's so hard to always say the right things in the right way, focus on God with no distractions, plan for the future when there's already so much going on in the present. I get it. It's so hard to do things consistently without making mistakes. It's tough. It's a humbling realization that every true believer must recognize that our hearts are just too messed up. There's something wrong with us that needs more help than what we can muster up ourselves. We need a new heart. And what a wonderful God we have who sent his son to cover our weaknesses. Jesus is the answer to the problem of our broken hearts. 2 Corinthians 2:9 says, "But he, Jesus, said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong." When we are weak, he is strong. Like all my videos, the main takeaway is not that you have a strong, well-guarded heart, but that Christ was strong in you. He died for you. He made a new path for you out of destruction. He opened the doors of salvation for you. It's not by the works that keep us in right standing, but his great work on the cross. And the best way to guard your heart for wisdom is worship, in which the mouth, the mind, the imagination, and even the body, they're all oriented toward God. So let's respond in worship. He not only saved you, but he also gave you a new heart. Ezekiel 36:26-27. "And I give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, and I'll give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and be careful to obey my rules." He creates in us a clean heart. He renews a right spirit within us. When we were born again, God performs a heart transplant. He gives us a new heart. The power of the Holy Spirit transforms our hearts from focusing on sin to focusing on God. I hope this encourages you to continue to seek the path of wisdom, to seek righteousness. Be safe. Guard your heart. That's episode 4. I'll see you tomorrow.